Hi Homeworthy, my name is Kelsey and welcome to my home in Toronto. I can't wait to show you around. Come on in.
This summer, spend the hottest months of the year in style with Homeworthy as we visit the most extraordinary homes around the world. From the sun-soaked shores of the Hamptons to the classic beachfronts of Nantucket to the vibrant courtyards of Morocco, be sure to subscribe to Homeworthy's summer series to make every day feel like a vacation. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
My name is Kelsey MacDermaid. I am a co-founder of the Sara Girls and you are in my home in Toronto. I purchased this home almost 6 years ago and basically I was looking for my first home and I did want it to be a duplex because I was single at the time. So I was looking for a home that would have like a dual income. And here we are now, purchased my first home. What I really loved about the home is that it wasn't too big for a single person and it was the right balance of somebody has taken a lot of care of this home. It was mildly renovated, updated wiring and everything, but there was still a lot of my own personal input and design that I could bring to the space. So that's what was really exciting for me. When it came to decorating my home, I feel like I started with a lot of the functional things like finishing the basement, adding a bathroom down there, adding storage in the front hallway. And then once that was done, I felt like I really wanted to add some color and character and also just make it a little bit more me. So that's where I was able to add my thrifted items, the DIYed items, a little bit of color. I know it didn't go crazy on the color, but at least a little bit of my own personality into the space once the functional elements were complete. This is the front entryway to my unit. This house was one house when I purchased it. I turned it into 2 units, main floor and basement being one of the apartments and the second floor being the second apartment. But now we're back to using it as a single family home because my partner moved in and we got married. So this is back to one house, but it still is kind of the layout of 2 apartments. You'll see what I mean. In here, I wanted to add a lot of storage because there was 0 storage. So I have an IKEA built-in here that I also painted. It's called Florentine Plaster by Benjamin Moore. I like to think in neutral. It has a little bit of a green tinge to it, but this gave me a lot more storage and shoe storage where there was none. This is a floating entryway console that I had custom built by Wood Chip Works, just as a place to drop keys. And then the other major parts of this space are this ottoman here that I reupholstered, and it has even more storage in it because I needed storage clearly. And this fireplace isn't really a working fireplace, but it's working on looking good in this space. So this fireplace went through so many color change options just by painting it. But eventually I did the tile work and exposed the brick inside because that was plastered up at one point. So this is I think the final form for this fireplace. For now. This piece of art is by Annette Dunlop. She's a local artist and I found it on a website called Partial, which allows you to like rent or purchase art by locals. So it's a really great place to source art and it was my first adult kind of art purchase, which is really exciting. This mantle is full of a lot of thrifted pieces, my whole house is, including this, which is actually called trench art. It is a spent artillery shell from World War II. I purchased it in Greece and the soldiers in the trenches would actually etch art onto different, items that were used during the war. So this one has a lady on it and it's just so special to me. Can't believe something like this exists. When I purchased the home, they had a wiring for 2 matching sconces here framing the fireplace, but since I was turning this into my entryway and then leading into the living room, I decided to do mismatched kind of wall sconces, including doing a ceiling light. This is a vintage ceiling light and I turned it into a wall sconce and I think it's just such a cool way to do a light is just turn it into a wall sconce instead of a ceiling light. It'd be a mediocre ceiling light, but I think this makes a beautiful wall sconce. Next, I'll take you into the living room. This is my living room. I feel like I use that term loosely because I have a small house and this main floor is just one big floor. As we can see, we just came from the entryway. But in here I have kind of a simple couch. This is one of my first purchases for the home, so I was not yet bold, but I think I've made it special with a lot of thrifted pieces surrounding it. Literally too many thrifted pieces to count. I have a thrifted smoked glass coffee table. I have a custom TV bench, and I had it custom made this way so that it slopes at the end, since this is a small space and there is a walkway right there. I just feel like this frames the wall nicely and makes it feel like it's not a heavy piece of furniture in this really small living room. These simple side tables I thrifted, this lamp I thrifted. The blanket is one of my favorite pieces that I've ever thrifted. It is, you know, it's not too hot, not too cold. It's just right. It's like my Goldilocks blanket, and I love the pattern it brings to, again, my kind of simple couch. That was one of my first purchases. Here's the swing arm sconce on the other side of the fireplace, and I wanted to do a swing arm sconce so that I could lean it in as much as possible to the living room. That was the design plan, and this is one of my favorite recent thrifts. I feel like I don't have a lot of recent thrifts because I finished my home maybe a year ago, but it's just this like fish tray. I don't keep anything on it, but I just love the vibe, right? And then probably the last two important parts of the space are, actually these are both thrifted vintage IKEA. I have this IKEA light here, which just kind of acts as a little reading light. And then also this chair that's from the 90s or the 2000s that I had reupholstered to match my space. It was hard to find a chair that fits in this space because, again, it is small and this allows you to swivel and it doesn't take up a lot of room. As with many things in my space, I tried many things before finding what works, and this oversized sheepskin is one of those items. I did try full-size rugs in this space, but first of all, it's kind of an awkward space. I couldn't find a rug that would kind of like include the chair, but also at the same time, I don't want it to include the chair because it is a bit of a transition. And also, I really liked light color rugs, and this is such a high use area, high traffic area, that I was getting those light rugs very dirty. So I'm actually really in love with just framing the coffee table on this sheepskin. I think it works for the space, even though I'm a big rug girl. I love a rug, but it just wasn't working in this room. It broke it up too much when I wanted a nice kind of open concept flow. I feel like the neutral color palette in this space kind of goes along with the fact that this is one of the first spaces that I decorated. And again, I like to stick timeless, but I am also more open to color now. I think the problem comes in when you're doing an open concept space is, where do you start and stop color? So in the front entryway, that's why I was able to do a little bit of a neutral color, but I framed it because of all the trim that I had in there. You'll see other parts of my space, I have some more color. It's a spoiler for the last room we're gonna visit today, but I find it hard to know where to start and stop color when it's an open concept space. I love to do a colorful wall, but how do you stop that when you have one giant room? I don't want the whole room to be one color. So that's why I kind of went neutral here and tried to just do pops of color here and there. The curtains in here are linen, and I made them, and I also made every single curtain that you will see in this house, kind of by accident, but it just happened. So I hand sewed every single curtain. I met my business partner and the other half of the Sorry Girls when we went to film school together here in Toronto. And we started our YouTube channel like basically as soon as we met, like a month or two after we met. We started with Halloween costume videos, and then we grew to other DIY videos, small apartment decor videos, and eventually we were doing full either our own home renos or decorating other people's spaces, and it's really turned into just such a beautiful place for us to be creative and DIY and design and upcycle and thrift. I mean, honestly, one of the favorite projects I've done at the Sorry Girls is just be able to work on my own home. I mean, this has been kind of a project of mine for years. I finished it maybe a year ago, so my home has been a big project that I've gotten to work on for the last few years. And next up, let's head into the kitchen. Welcome to my kitchen. This is one of the more recent renos that I did in the space. I saved it for last so that I knew what I wanted exactly in the space, and I'm pretty happy with the outcome. So the challenge here was try to make it work with the existing home. I definitely didn't want this entire home to feel like newly renovated. I want to honor the character of what is an 100-year-old house as much as possible, but also the kitchen that I was taking out was a very like 2000s reno. So what I did here was a quartzite countertop. I chose my appliances first, actually. I had this vision of doing a dark stainless steel because it kind of feels like the options are stainless steel, maybe dark stainless steel, white, or if you want to go for something super special and custom, maybe you can get a color. But out of those three common options, I decided I wanted to do dark stainless steel, which meant that I was going to do a dark lower cabinet. I am hoping this is a timeless look. I'm still in love with it. But that was my goal, was trying to create a timeless kitchen. This piece here was super important for storage. I decided to do a reeded glass to just add some visual interest, to add some more lighting to the space. And this is where we keep some of the bar cabinetware and tea and coffee, including an appliance garage, which I highly recommend because I don't love countertop clutter. So the coffee machine's in here. We have a microwave hidden, and it's really easy to use and hide every single day. Before I moved into this house, I knew I wanted to make a dining nook in whatever space I moved into, but coincidentally, this space already had a dining nook, and that was just felt very meant to be. But at the same time, it didn't have that much storage in the dining nook. But with the kitchen reno, I decided to redo the nook a little bit, so now it fits in with the rest of the kitchen, and also there's additional storage. I thrifted this marble pill-shaped table, but I actually had to assemble it to a different thrifted base so that it would work in a dining nook. I handmade the cushions in a pop of green. Green is one of my favorite colors. I think it's a neutral. You can argue with me if you want, but it is a neutral. This piece of art here is actually from the Met Open Access Collection, which is a bunch of art that is public domain. So I was able to print this out for free. Well, I had to pay to print it out. The art itself was free. And then I actually just used like Mod Podge on top of the art to give it some definition and make it look like it was painted. I think I went through a few variations of a pendant over this table, but I landed on this one. I just thrifted it and then spray painted it a mustard color because, again, I wanted a little bit of color in this space, but it's simple. It does the job. We love a pop of color pendant. Part of redoing the kitchen involved taking down a cabinet that was here because it just really blocked the space. I went for open shelving instead, and I don't think I'm down to keep everything on open shelving, but I think a few cups is where I'll draw the line, and it just made this space feel so much more open instead of having a closed-in cabinet here. And for the cabinetry hardware, I decided to go for a wood handle and wood knobs. I love the warmth of wood, and I think it looks really good on both the black and the off-white cabinetry. I find it really hard to describe the style of my house because I'm just gravitated towards things that I like and maybe more textures and colors over something I saw in a magazine or I saw on Pinterest. So if I had to describe my style, I think I would say it's organic because I really like wood tones and like natural materials like linen. And I would also say it's traditional because I like a space to be kind of timeless and, you know, not feel too trendy or too try hard. And I would also say eclectic because I love thrifted items. I love unique pieces and pieces that mean something to me and maybe, you know, nobody else cares for, but that's okay. All right, let's head to the basement bedroom suite. I call this the basement bedroom suite because it's in the basement, but it's kind of like a bedroom suite in the sense that this is where the closet, bathroom, and bedroom are. And it's nice enough to call it a suite. So this space I designed to be kind of like a landing closet area. The goal was that if you came over to my house and you need to use the bathroom, you didn't feel like you were walking through my bedroom or personal closet, but it still operates like a closet. Over here is a bunch of kind of faux built-in dressers that I actually hacked out of IKEA Malum units. This is like 3 and a bit dresser units that filled the space really nicely. And I got quoted like $12,000 to build a custom piece that looks like this, but I did it myself. And most of the units were thrift. I think they were all thrifted. So thrifted IKEA units. Pretty proud of that. But again, just more dresser storage. But overall, I feel like this space doesn't feel like you're in a closet. It's just kind of a nice landing room. The styling on top is equal parts, yes, we wanted to look cute, but also practical because it's not a true built-in. There's a big gap at the back. So the books actually hide the fact that there's a gap and the dressers aren't fully pushed against the wall. We love smart hacks like that. Honestly, I have more art here that I purchased from Partial, the website to find local art. I made this wall sconce. Sometimes I don't know how I feel about her, but it gives off a warm light, so I like it. I also made this little vase out of polymer clay just because I needed something on this wall that wasn't art. So how about a vase with some dried florals? Works for me. And then over here, this piece is actually really special to me because this is a paint by number that my grandpa did in, I don't know if it would have been the 50s or the 60s or the 70s, but this was hanging up in my grandparents' bedroom and I would come over and see it, and it's scandalous because it is a topless woman, and I thought it was my grandma at first, and then I was informed that it's just a paint by number that grandpa did. So when my grandpa passed, I asked if I could have this painting that I remember very fondly from when I was a kid. Obviously with the basement, we still wanted to feel really cozy, so I put down lots of rugs. This rug's actually article, and then so is this unit here that I stole, I think, from our office a while ago when we didn't need it in our studio space anymore. So it became my own bench here that, you know, gathers clothes on a daily basis. Obviously, every closet space needs a full body mirror. So this is my closet mirror, and I actually hung it in a way that I could add a smart LED strip on the back so that we get this nice illumination of the textured wall. This textured wall is actually one of the only original things you'll see in this basement. This is part of the stone foundation, and I think they would have just plastered it over at some point through this house's life. So I was left with this honestly very pretty textured wall. I definitely want to keep that. The original stairs coming to this basement were so scary. Obviously they needed to be upgraded. And when I did upgrade them, I wanted to make them wider so that I could actually fit storage under the stairs because I didn't need a huge open space here. I knew it wouldn't have a purpose outside of being a closet. So let's instead make the stairs double wide. As you can see, there's a little bit of a ceiling issue here, but the wider stairs means that I now have storage underneath the stairs. More storage. Okay, next up, the bathroom. So this is my bathroom, and there's so much more here than meets the eye, although maybe a lot is meeting the eye because it is one of my favorite spaces. So what we have here is an open concept shower. There's like no doors or anything. Maybe you call it a wet room. It's kind of a wet room. We have tile all in the walls and the polished concrete floor running throughout. So I have this all throughout the entire basement, but something I recently did was actually epoxy seal specifically in the bathroom. I would have done the whole basement, but it was a cost thing. But the epoxy just gives it a little bit more durability because polished concrete is porous. So in a shower, it was getting like just a little bit worn down. So to stop any wear and tear, I did an epoxy. And I actually love the color that it became. It's a lot richer once you put the epoxy on, as you can see, compared to maybe the more, it's still sealed, but it's not epoxied, the other part of the concrete. This bathtub is original to the house, but it was in the upstairs bathroom. When I purchased the house, there was only one bathroom and it was on the second story. And somehow, when you see this bathroom, you will be shocked. Somehow this clawfoot tub fit in there, but I painted it green, brought it downstairs, and now it's definitely a staple in this spa bathroom. And for the vanity, this is actually a mid-century modern dresser that I upcycled into a bathroom vanity. Chose to only do one sink. Again, I was single at the time, but honestly, I would recommend one sink because I want all the counter space to do my makeup. And it took me a really long time to find a mirror for this space, but I ended up finding what was supposed to be, I think, like a regular vertical floor length mirror, but I hung it sideways to use it above this vanity, and it works well. I'm really happy with it. And since we are in a basement, I did need to have a place to have all the utilities and furnace and hot water tank, as well as laundry. So behind me is what I would call the laundry room, even though it's not a laundry room. But I tried to make it pretty so that when the doors are open, it's not an eyesore. And you might be wondering, that's a nice bathroom, but where's the toilet? And I actually put it in its own little room here because I thought it'd be important to have privacy. At the point where 2 people were living here, I manifested correctly because I now have a partner now. But I love this little toilet room or water closet. I think if you can, everybody should be doing a water closet or a separate toilet room. I think it just is a lot nicer to have a bath when you're not staring at your toilet. And also if you're sharing the space, this makes it a lot better. This toilet room has caused a lot of controversy on the internet because I painted it brown. Again, this is one of those spaces where I wanted to add color, but where do you start? Where do you stop? I didn't want to paint all the way up to the ceiling. That felt a little over-consuming. So I decided to do a little bit of trim and only bring the brown up kind of 3/4 or halfway. And then all of the photographs in here are vintage photographs of my grandparents as well as my partner's grandparents. Instead of doing like family portrait art, I really like to use more of these candid photos and vintage photos of family members. I think it's just a little bit more interesting and a lot more special. One more thing before we leave the bathroom, I want to show off my vintage door here. So a pocket door is another great small space hack. And this is a vintage door that I want to include down here because this is a new reno. So it's one of those things that I can do to add a little bit of character to this space. You have to kind of add back in the character when you do the reno. So this is part of that. And then this door locks for privacy if you needed to close off the bathroom. What I love most about my home is how it makes me feel at the end of the day. It's just calming and relaxing. It's my safe place. And I also love how it makes others feel. I've had lots of friends and family come over and they say that the vibe in the house is just it's so lovely and it has a good energy, and I love to hear that. Next, I'll take you into the bedroom. Okay, this is my bedroom. It's small and simple, but that's all we need it to be. It's where we sleep. So I just have my bed here. I did a handmade kind of fabric headboard to span the entire width of the room. Floating nightstands in small spaces I think is a really good idea. And for the nightstands, I just went with a really small, simple frosted lamp. And I'm a big smart home girly. A lot of things in my house are smart home, the blinds, the light bulbs. So bear with me for a second. Hey Google, make the bedroom lights pink. So cute, so relaxing. I love changing them all the colors to set the vibe. Blue is the most calming for me. On the other side of the room here, we have a paper lamp from IKEA that I actually upcycled to have a wood base because I wasn't down with the stainless steel. I wanted more wood and warmth. So an upcycled paper lamp here, as well as an upcycled dresser. I'm not trying to be that person, but I just happen to upcycle so many things. So I painted this nice sagey green so that, again, we had a little pop of neutral color. Okay, that completes the bedroom basement suite. Let's go all the way to the second floor. Welcome to the upstairs. So up here includes what was the only bathroom in the house. Now this is one of 2. And this is where the clawfoot tub happened to be, as well as a sink and a toilet. This is my version of a redesign with trying to still keep character with the tile choice that I chose and even a little checkered backsplash, but I think the layout is a lot better now without the clawfoot. I do think a small bathroom or a powder room is a really good place to go for color because it can kind of be contained and not be overwhelming. So that's what I did here. And again, a 3/4 up kind of trim so that we had a place to stop the color. It's hard to find a vanity for a small space. This was one of the only vanities that would fit. And I actually swapped out the handles with wood handles because I just wanted it to feel a little bit more organic and toned down instead of the black hardware that came with it. And then over top of the toilet here, I painted these green. They were stainless steel, but I wanted a more muted color. And as we know, green is a neutral. Let's go check out the media room. Just before we head into the media room, I wanted to point out this door, which was a solid white painted door, but I stripped it back to the original wood and also added some textured glass just as a nice focal point of the space, and so that in this Moody room we didn't have a stark white door in the middle of it. Come check it out. Okay, so this is by far the coziest space in the house, and when we speak about color, I love either clearly color drenching or going 3/4 up. It seems to be no in between for me, so I was so excited to color drench this room in a beautiful green. And this room has so many thrifts, DIYs, and upcycles. So these curtains, I sewed all of them, mostly just because I couldn't find curtains to match the paint color, so I had to go for a fabric instead. This couch is something that actually my partner brought from his bachelor pad, but I think it looks really good in the space. And actually, I designed the room around the couch. We had the couch first. Back here, I did a floating tile console shelf. I just wanted to get the couch off of the wall a little bit and also balance out this wall because I have a jut out from the chimney downstairs. So this way we just get a nice straight line to put the couch up against and also add some interest and texture. I have lots of lighting and lamps in here, including, this is vintage IKEA. How many times did I say that today? This is a DIY'd paper pendant that I assembled. She's a little wonky, but I love her. I also have a thrifted floor lamp over in that corner. And this is a bowl that I turned into a ceiling light. That was pretty cool. This artwork is also something that came from my partner's bachelor pad, but I actually painted it. It was black on the bottom half, but I thought that that didn't go so well with our dark green. So instead, I just used some paint that I already had to add the dark green as well as like a lime green as a pop of color. I love how big it is and how much space it takes up. These two pieces are actually thrifted. So this one, I think somebody decoupaged, is that what you call it? Where maybe this was paper or wrapping paper, and then they also made the frame out of the same art that's in the frame. And then this one is a frame that I got from a garage sale for 25 cents. I swear you can't thrift something for that cheap anymore. And then this was just a piece of art that I found at the thrift store. Okay, so this is the media part of the media room. This is where my partner does a lot of gaming. We watch a lot of movies. It's such a beautiful place to cozy up. And with these thick, dark curtains, it can be the nicest day out, but we can shut the curtains and it feels like it's movie time. This TV bench console I designed with my friend Rochelle. It is walnut plywood and we did curved doors on the sides. She did an amazing job with this build and it definitely completes this space. The LED strip on the back of the TV is part of the entire smart home system that I have here, including all the smart lights that I have in this room. And on the floor is a rug that I got off of Etsy. I like to look for vintage Turkish rugs on Etsy. That's kind of something that I do a lot. And we definitely needed this piece to bring the cozy to the space. And I will say rugs can be a little difficult sometimes. They don't always look the same color as they do online. And I was so relieved when this showed up. It has green in the rug. It has all the browns and warm tones. And I saw a picture of this space recently from before, and we needed the rug to add the cozy because the light woods in a dark, cozy, moody media room were not it. I kind of surprised myself by adding some pinks in this space. I found this smoked glass coffee table on Facebook Marketplace, and it has this kind of like pink stone leg. So then I said, okay, green and pink look really good together. So I thrifted a pink wool blanket as well. And all of a sudden, pink became an accent color in this space. But once I got this coffee table, I realized that I am a big fan of smoked glass. There was smoked glass in the bedroom, smoked glass coffee table in the living room. And this is my third piece, my smoked glass media coffee table. Home to me means the place that you can relax, recharge, and be your complete self. Thanks, Homeworthy. It was so fun hanging out with you, but I have got to get back to refinishing a desk for my next makeover. See you later. Bye.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.